Thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition Friday morning episode of So Real Sports Talk. It is 49ers draft day. Finally, it has come upon us, and we're here to talk about it. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to talk about what the 49ers might do today based off what they have done in the past. But to start off, got to get this off of my chest. Yesterday happened, day one of the draft, and Debo was not traded. So I do have to admit to the world, I was wrong about Debo. I thought that this situation was unfixable, and I knew that based off of Debo's the moves that he made as far as his Instagram and the posts that he was liking and putting out what he was focusing on in social media, that he was unhappy and he was willing to walk. What I didn't expect was the 49ers to hang firm and not trade him. So kudos to the front office for not budging, not bending, not breaking, and keeping Debo, because if you're like me, most of us, Debo's one of our favorite players. We know the team is better with him. And I should have known. Harold Murillo, good morning to you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. So let me kind of just go through my thought process when it comes to the Debo thing. So I know a lot of people were, and maybe me, I fell into it as well, with the 49ers previously trading a guy like DeForest Buckner, kind of set the precedent that the 49ers may trade high premium talent. And that's why guys like me and others thought that maybe Debo would be traded by the 49ers. However, one thing that I never got on the team about for trading DeForest Buckner is because I realized that in that situation, it was a little bit different. The 49ers were actually making a choice, right? So they had Arik Armstead, DeForest Buckner, and they really, in their mind, were only going to be able to pay one. And they decided to go with Arik Armstead. And the reason for that, I believe, is one, he was a little bit cheaper, but two, he was more versatile, right? He could play inside and outside. The third reason is I believe the rest of the league probably had a higher premium on DeForest Buckner. So if they were going to have to trade one, they obviously were able to get a first round out of DeForest Buckner. Arik Armstead, they weren't going to get the same type of package or same high-level draft pick. So they ended up sticking with the Arik Armstead, trading DeForest Buckner. And, that's actually worked out for both teams as far as Arik Armstead has been a mainstay for the defensive line and is playing very, very well for the 49ers. Devo is obviously having, quite a good career with the Colts. And we have Javon Kinlaw in his third year, healthy this year. So we will see if, he ends up becoming any type of player that we would want him to be. Then all of a sudden, the 49ers look extremely, extremely smart. But Harold asks, what is Debo's mindset, though? Will he be all in with the 49ers? Hopefully he doesn't become disgruntled. Now, I think this is a common thought process, Harold, and the honest to God truth is, I don't know. I think actually some answers may be answered today through social media once again, because Debo is actually going to be signing autographs today for a short amount of time. I do assume there's going to be 49er fans there, and I do assume, knowing the type of fans we have, that they were going to ask straight up questions to Debo. So we'll see how he answers them. As far as his mindset, I think people need to take into consideration who Debo is actually upset with. I do not believe Debo is upset with the team, the coaching staff. This is strictly front office and a Debo situation. And what I mean by that is this is contract negotiations. Obviously, the team came up with a number that wasn't suitable to what Debo thought. We just saw AJ Brown got traded. He spoke about what happened in his mindset. The Titans offered him something around $16 million a year. He obviously did not like that. He said that if the team had given him a deal around $22 million a year, he would still be playing for the Titans. So seeing that deal and seeing what AJ Brown actually said, it seems like that with Debo as well. Once the money's right, I think everything else will come into place. I don't think that Debo dislikes playing for Shanahan. I obviously know that he enjoys his teammates, and Debo is a football player, which means when he's on the field, he's going to give it his 100%. We saw him game after game, week after week, giving everything he had on the field. I don't think that that's going to change. It just seems like this is all about getting the money to where he wants to see it. I think Kyle Shanahan could swoop in and use some of his magic, and all will be good, right? So that's how I imagine that it's going right now. I applaud the 49ers for not making that trade, because obviously Debo Samuel is an amazing player. I think that he's exactly what this team needs, and it would be really, really hard to replace him. And when he's here, you don't have to worry about that. So, but I just wanted to put it out there. I was wrong about Debo. I thought he was going to get traded. He isn't going to get traded, barring some kind of crazy move right now where maybe a team gives up their whole draft board and future draft board to be able to get Debo. But I don't foresee that happening. So it looks like the 49ers are going to actually just stick with the draft, and they have 3 picks today. So what I thought would be interesting is looking at the past draft boards for the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch tenure with the 49ers, and seeing if that could help us predict what the 49ers might do today. So obviously the first round, the 49ers had 0 picks because they traded away those picks last season to get Trey Lance. And are any of us upset about that? Maybe there's a few people that are out here still wishing that, or still not thinking Trey Lance is going to be the type of player that I believe he's going to be. But for fans like me, I'm super happy with that, because Trey Lance, if he was in this draft, would be hands down the number 1 pick in the draft. He's on the 49ers and going to be the starter this year. So not sad about that. However, if we go into what the Shanahan and Lynch era have done when it comes to first-round picks, they've actually selected in the first round 7 times in the 5 drafts that they have had. And to break those down, they picked 3 D linemen, 1 offensive lineman, a wide receiver, a quarterback, and a linebacker. Okay. Obviously, we don't have any first-round picks, so can't really predict what they were going to do in the first round because there wasn't anything to predict. But second round, let's go into it. So actually, remarkably, the 49ers have only picked 3 times in the second round under the Shanahan and Lynch tenure. In 2020, obviously they traded up to get Brandon Ayuk in the first round, so they forego their second round pick for that. And in 2017, their first draft, they actually traded up to pick Reuben Foster, and they forego their second round pick. Obviously, that 2017 first round draft, we just want to forget, because Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, both aren't on the team now. That wasn't very good. Let's just leave it at that. But the second round actually is the round where the 49ers have mostly gone wide receiver. Out of those 3 picks, 2 of those have been wide receivers. Debo, obviously, being a second-round pick in 2019, turning into an all-pro. They also picked Dante Pettis. That didn't turn out too well. Now, that was in 2018. And then last year, they picked Aaron Banks, the one offensive lineman there. So the 49ers do have the 61st pick in the draft. So a late second round pick. So I know there's a lot of players out there. There's been a lot of players out there that the 49ers are eyeing. Obviously, Christian Watson is out there that a lot of 49er fans are excited about. Sky is still out there. As far as a wide receiver, I believe Pickens is still available. So Will the 49ers pick a wide receiver in the second round? It's possible, right? So the 49ers have actually done that, like I said, twice. I don't necessarily think it's a need, and I don't actually expect it to happen. And this is the reason why. The times that the 49ers did go wide receiver in the second round, they did have a first round pick where they were able to pick somebody in the trenches. So in 2018, they were able to pick up Mike McGlinchey in the first round to shore up that offensive line. They went second round wide receiver. In 2019, they obviously picked Nick Bosa first round, and then they picked Deebo Samuel second round, 2 all pros. So if we could do anything like 2019, we'll be in a good situation. Now, in this case, if they did pick a wide receiver in the second round, they're pretty much, they haven't really touched on the defensive line or the offensive line, which seems to be the way that the 49ers do build. Now, the issue with that is the positions of need for the 49ers are definitely O-line. We definitely need a center because all indications are that Alex Mack is probably going to retire. We obviously need a safety with Jaquiski's Tart position still not really have a bona fide solution there quite yet. And then I would say slot corner is a position of need as well. So those are the 3 positions that I would say are like glaring weaknesses for the 49ers. Now, I think there are still quite a few safeties that are on the board. Now, the 49ers have never picked secondary earlier than third round underneath Shanahan and Lynch. So could this be the year that they actually do that? I think that if there are some guys there that may drop to 61, a guy like Jacoby Brissett, who would be a really good pick for the 49ers. I know some guys are high on Nick Cross, who might be out there. For me, if a guy like Jalen Petrie starts falling, maybe the 49ers, get aggressive and go up and try to snatch him. But if I am a betting man, I believe that the 49ers more than likely will probably go defensive line with the second round pick. And the reason for that is just where they're picking at, the type of value that they could get with a edge rusher that I think they could partner up with Nick Bosa. That's kind of where I think they would go. And the reason for that, even though I think center is probably the biggest position of need, I just don't know if there's value at the 61st pick. They would be, reaching, I think, for a center at that part. I mean, maybe if David Parham does fall to that position, then that might be value at 61. But the other guys that I think would be available at 61 are more graded on a third round level where they do have 2 more picks in the third round. So I think they would probably attack that more in the third round rather than, with their second round pick. So let me see what some of you guys are thinking. So Dusty Gold, thank you for joining in. Draft better on second and third day. Yes, the 49ers actually do a pretty good job drafting outside of the first round. I mean, they do have some solid picks in the first round, but in the second and third round, they've picked 10 times. And they've been able to get 2 all-pros out of those rounds. So one being Deebo, the other being Fred Warner. So if 20% of your picks in the second and third round turn out to be all-pros, you're actually doing a pretty good job. So definitely, Dusty, great observation there. Sean Kaheleohi, been missing you, man. Haven't seen you in a while. Do you think we go center at 61? I just touched on that. I do not think so unless a guy like Dylan Parham does fall. I just don't think the value's there, Sean. But I wouldn't say no either. I would edge it that they wouldn't, but they do tend to in these first few rounds kind of reach for positions of need. They don't necessarily truly play best position available till I would say 4th round and below. Usually in these top 3 rounds, they isolate players that on their draft board, and if they see them anywhere near where they're picking, they can be aggressive and actually reach. You saw that with Aaron Banks. We've seen that in the 3rd round. They did that with Trey Sermon, Ambry Thomas, and we've seen that, all throughout them drafting. So I don't think that. So to your point, they may go for a center just because that is a position of need. However, I do think it would be a reach unless a guy like Parham does fall. But with Cole Strange going in the first round, you do think that there's going to be some teams that are looking for a center as well that might jump up and get that as well. Dusty Gold, you think we draft back on 61 for more choices? Dusty, I don't think so. The 49ers already have 9 picks. That's the third most picks left in the draft right now. I don't think more picks is what they need at this point. There's not even 9 positions on this team that I think rookies would be able to make the roster with. So I would actually expect them more to combine picks to trade up, probably in the 3rd round or in the 4th round and below. But they might even trade up in the 2nd round if they see a player that they like and go up for. I assume that they're not going to pick a total of 9 players, Dusty. So I don't imagine them getting more picks. You also mentioned O-line, safety, wide receiver, and defense, much like what we mentioned as well. Sean saying, if Mac retires, do we go after Treader and develop a rookie center? Sean, I really like that comment because that actually, to me, seems like the most realistic option. And the reason why I say that is I don't know how much Shanahan likes playing that many young guys at the same time. So if we're looking at where the offensive line is right now, we obviously have Trent Williams for sure playing left tackle. All indications are showing that McGlinchey is coming back and he's healthy. He's working out. He seems like he's feeling good. So ideally, he would be the right tackle. We got Aaron Banks, who seems to be slotted in at the left guard. And then I would assume that the competition between Brunskill and Jalen Moore, would be for that right guard position. If Jalen Moore can beat out Brunskill, we have another 2nd-year player there. So if we get a rookie center, now we're talking about 3 players that are 2nd year or younger on that offensive line with a 2nd-year quarterback. It just doesn't seem like that's Kyle Shanahan's MO. He does like having more vets there. So I do imagine either playing Brunskill at center, which he has played, but I think your idea of going after a guy like Treader is probably more ideal in Shanahan's eyes. The only thing is Treader is coming off of an injury. He is 31. So would it be more like a 1 or 2 year deal, kind of like what they did with Mac, to kind of be a stopgap and then take maybe somebody in the 3rd or 4th round that they could develop? I think that would be more likely of a scenario than picking a center that's going to start from day one. Harold Murillo agrees with me. Yes, pass rusher. Cam Jurgens, Christopher Blankenship, thank you for coming, for joining in as well. I think Cam could be definitely a pick there. Nick Cross, we mentioned, that could be a pick there. Yeah, I mean, like I said, in the 2nd round, the 49ers have never gone secondary. So are they going to break the mold and actually pick a safety? I do think that that's a position of need. Just this tenure under Shanahan and Lynch, they tend to not go secondary till the 3rd round. So my educated guess, just based off of their history, is they're going to go trenches in the 2nd round based off of value at 61. I most likely think it's going to be an edge rusher. But who knows? The 49ers do like zigging when we think they're going to zag. So it could be anything. So that was our little breakdown of the 2nd round. Let's go into the 3rd round. So the 3rd round, the 49ers, over the past 5 years under Shanahan and Lynch, have actually selected 7 times. And in those 7 times, they picked 2 cornerbacks, a quarterback, a safety, a wide receiver, a linebacker, and a running back. So this is where I think the 49ers, you can see them becoming a little more aggressive and maybe packaging in some of those later, the 220, the 221, to move up in the 3rd round, to isolate some guys that they might be looking. Now, these first 3 rounds, I do want to mention the 49ers tend to not just go best player available. They tend to reach for positions of need or guys that they really, really like. So I don't imagine them just letting the board fall to them. They usually stay truer to best player available in the 4th round and below. So if we're looking at the positions that are necessary, so let's say they do go edge rusher in the 2nd round with that 61st pick. Now we definitely have to see them go secondary in the 3rd round, whether it be a slot corner or a safety. And we definitely have to see them go interior offensive line within the 3rd round. So there are going to be some guys available. There's some corners there that I think would be, a great fit for the 49ers. Some safeties that might fall. There's some centers there. The guy out of Arizona, Donovan West, I believe his name is going to be there. Might be available. There's a center out of Kentucky, Luke Fortnoy, I think his name is, that might be available. So I do imagine that the 49ers in the 3rd round is where they're going to probably pick interior offensive line and either a corner or a safety. And that, like I said, is dependent on if they do go edge in the 2nd round, like I envision. That's where I think they go. And I can see them maybe trade up again in the 3rd round to pick either, if they didn't pick a corner or safety with their other 2 picks, maybe do that, or maybe a wide receiver if they see a guy that they like. A guy like Danny Gray, who's a burner. They are looking for that stretch option now that the pass game is probably going to be more opened up with Trey Lance. So that could be a definite possibility. We could be looking at the 49ers having 3 picks in the 3rd round based off of where they're at, right? They're not going to take, like I mentioned earlier, 9 picks. I don't envision that they do. More likely around that 6 to 7 range. So if they trade up, I would see a 3rd round being a viable option for them to trade up and maybe get a receiver, a guy like Danny Gray that might be available, a guy like Kyle Phillips out of UCLA that might be available, or somebody else that they are eyeing that they think could be a good fit. We do know that Shanahan does like picking receivers, in the second round and the 3rd round, right? They picked receivers in the 3rd round as well. So I do think that we could see the 49ers trade up. So I imagine them picking 3 times in the 3rd round. An interior offensive lineman, a guy that could play center and guard, a safety and or a cornerback, and then maybe a wide receiver as well. So what do you guys think? Let's see. I'm the 3rd. Would Petrie be available in the 3rd? Sean, I don't think so. I think Petrie is going to be probably a high 2nd round pick based off of just, the safety market where it is. I think that a lot of teams are eyeing him. So I don't think he'll even be there at 61. But if he is there at 61, I could probably say the 49ers will pick Petrie. I just think he'd be a good fit with their need for safety. He's a sure tackling kind of guy, and that's kind of what the 49ers look for. He has played corner in college as well, so he does have some coverage ability, but he'll probably be more tuned to be a safety. So I don't think he'll even be there at 61, so I don't think he'll be there in the 3rd round. If he does drop, though, I don't see him falling past the 49ers. Rockstar, great name, my guy. I think we trade up for Watson to reunite Trey and him. He's always very fast and a good deep threat. That seems to be what a lot of 49er fans are hoping for. I just don't see it, Rockstar. I mean, I just don't see it as a big enough need where the 49ers will be that aggressive to move up to get him. There's just too many needs on the team that definitely they need to go pick up. And we mentioned some of those with interior offensive line, safety, corner, DN. Those are the 4 positions that I think they definitely need somebody. Wide receiver, it's a pretty deep draft, so I do think they could find somebody in later rounds, maybe the 3rd, but most likely 4th and below, just like they did with Juwan Jennings, right? He's a 7th round pick. They stashed him while, they had other players at higher levels that could play. And then, in his 2nd year, he came out, made some noise. 3rd year, he's part of the game plan moving forward. So I think the 49ers will more likely do something like that at wide receiver, especially since they're keeping Debo. So Yeah, but I mean, could be. Like I said, 49ers like to zig when we think they're going to zag. So that would definitely be them zigging when we think they're going to zag. Um, Sean, glad I'm able to catch this love, bro. Exciting day for the faithful. Absolutely. And, I mentioned it that, this is where I think the 49ers could really round out their squad. I think they did a really solid job in the offseason. I know a lot of people are kind of getting at Lynch's throat, saying that they didn't have a good offseason. I really think that they did. I think they got better in positions that they needed to get better at. They've gotten younger, healthier across the board. And a lot of these young studs that were showing promise last season are a year further along in the system. They have a year to, work a year longer of experience. And I think that, you're going to see guys like Mitchell, Trey Sermon, Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Ambry Thomas, a lot of these young guys that were, showed flashes in their first year, be bona fide, rotation players, guys that are going to make some noise and really solidify certain positions, for the team. So I'm pretty excited about what the team is going to do moving forward. Sean also says, with Debo staying on the field and not wanting to run the full wide back role, is there a back in the draft that could help fill that explosiveness that Debo brings at that position? Yeah, I mean, I do think that the 49ers are going to pick a running back. I just don't think it's going to be till the 5th or 6th round. I like that kid out of North Carolina. I think his name is Ty Campbell. He seems like a burner that could be that change of pace type back that the 49ers are missing. Obviously Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, I think are going to be RB1 and 2. But to have that kind of like burner, I think the 49ers might go after somebody like that in the later rounds. Or maybe some guy off of undrafted free agent that they could pick up. So we shall see. We shall see. Rockstar, great offseason other than losing Lakin. Very good signing with Ward. And definitely develop. Also love how much late round picks we have. We already know what we can do with that. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, they obviously get a lot of great Ty Chandler. Yes. Jesse jumping in. Guys, Jesse is going live for the 2nd and 3rd round. I'm going to try to make it. I'm actually going out of town in a few hours, but I'm going to probably try to jump in because I had so much fun with them last night with the boys on his channel. We had a great time. So if you have 4 hours to kill before 2nd round, go watch that because we were on there, having a lot of fun talking shop about the draft. He's doing it again today. So if you are wanting to tune in to Last Second Sports for draft analysis like no other. Would Batty be available late? I think so, man. And he has a great name, man. Anytime you could get a guy on your team named Batty, I think that's dope because I would love to hear announcers, say that name constantly. So we shall see. So I wanted to mention some things to watch out for. So, it's not so real sports talk until we get some tinfoil hat type of conspiratorial type stuff going on here, right? So we kind of did a breakdown, 2nd round, I'm thinking they're going edge just because the history track record of the 49ers is they want to go trenches first. I don't think the value at offensive line is going to be there at 61. So I do think that they'll go edge. I think that they're actually going to trade up into the 3rd. So right now they're scheduled to pick twice. I think they pick 3 times. In those 3 picks, they'll pick 3 of 4 of these positions: interior offensive line, safety, cornerback, wide receiver. I think 3 of those 4 will be picked in the 3rd round. But that doesn't mean that's all that's going to happen this day. So let's talk about some of the things that may happen. First off, Dre Greenlaw. So Dre Greenlaw is in the last year of his contract. That linebacking core is pretty phenomenal right now with Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shaair, who just signed his tender. So that not all of them are going to be able to play all of the time. The 49ers seem to have seem to have a finger on the pulse when it comes to linebackers. They tend to draft them well, develop them well. So this could be one of those opportunities where the 49ers, much like they did with, some of their running backs, guys that they're able to pick late, and then develop and, get their reputation up and then trade them, for an asset. So Dre Greenlaw is somebody who was a 5th-round pick who the 49ers might be able to get potentially a 3rd, most likely like a 4th for. And that could be something that we see sometime today or tomorrow where Dre Greenlaw gets traded for a 3rd or 4th pick, really just giving Azeez Al-Shaair the ability to be the full-time starter there. And I do believe that the 49ers will probably pick in the 4th or 5th round another linebacker that they could develop, as well as, they brought in Oren Burks, who could be somebody who might be able to, play some downs. And they still have, some of the guys that were depth pieces from last season that, could potentially play a larger role this season. So Dre Greenlaw being traded, that might be something that we see. The second thing is we are obviously on Jimmy Garoppolo watch. So before we only thought maybe Carolina was a team that would be interested in Jimmy Garoppolo, but news broke that the New York Giants didn't pick the 5th-year option on Danny Dimes. So what that means is they might be now in the market for a quarterback if obviously they're not seeing enough out of Danny Dimes to give him that fifth-year option. So a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, could we see New York maybe making a move to trade for him? Now that, New York might be on the market, does that give Carolina the fire to maybe make a move to trade for Jimmy? We may be able to see Jimmy be traded today, which I think for most fans would be, a beautiful sight, because not only does that take away any QB type controversy that may be developed in the next, few weeks or so, but it also gets that money off of the books that then can be used for signing the rookies, or even, in free agency, or rolled over just into next year. So let's see what you guys think about that. Rockstar saying, I think Jimmy goes for an early 2nd round. Woo! I think that would be fire, Rockstar. I love the positivity that you're bringing to this stream right now. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I do think it might be like a future pick, maybe a 3rd or a 4th. But, I would love to see him traded so that, the team could just move on and clean slate it with him. Lawrence Kramer, I'll never buy Debo merch. Hey, it's a free country, man. Do whatever you want to do. But I do think that, with Debo, as long as he gets his money, that guy leaves his heart on the field each game. And that's the type of player that I would love to have on my squad. Lawrence also says, I see Jimmy at most getting a next year conditional 3rd. Yeah, I do think future picks are more likely, unless the Giants obviously get involved. Carolina doesn't pick, I don't think, till 137. So that would be obviously what I think that's late 3rd round. No, maybe even 4th round. So, I do think either a 4th round this year, maybe a conditional pick next year seems realistic, if that. So, yeah, Jimmy moving. But I did put out a little bit of a hot take out on Twitter. I want to see what you guys think. So, there is a big name safety still out there on the market, Tyrann Mathieu. I know Jesse, if he's still in there, he's a big fan of the Honey Badger. If the 49ers could trade Jimmy this sometime today, could we see this weekend Honey Badger signing with the 49ers? What do you guys think about that? Would that be a move that you'd want to see? I do think that, that obviously the money that frees up, part of that is going to go to a Debo extension. Part of that's going to go to, signing most of these rookies that they're going to pick. But there should be a portion left over. And a guy like Honey Badger, who's still out there on the market, a lot of teams are going to be solidifying their safety position through the draft. So maybe the market isn't as strong as he might have thought, holding out. So maybe a team like the 49ers can swoop in there and get him on a 1-year deal or something like that to come in if he doesn't see the long-term money that he's looking for. Could be a solution, and I think that would be, obviously a great asset to the team. He brings a lot of leadership. He obviously has won a chip with Kansas City, so he has that kind of playoff experience as well. Coming from a greatly run organization in Kansas City, so a lot of great things to look forward to if a guy like that could be brought in. But who knows? All I know, guys, is we finally get to see some new players added to the 49ers family today. Like I said, I think it's going to be at least 3 players today drafted by the 49ers. Well, obviously there's going to be at least 3, but I mean, I would say 4 total players, 1 in the second round, 3 in the third round. So 4 new additions to the 49ers. If I'm just going to make a guess, let's say I think they go D-end. I think they go safety. I think they go cornerback and interior offensive line. Actually, yeah, I'm going to say they pick those four picks. And then, in day 3, we'll see the running back pick. We'll see the wide receiver picks. We'll see, some linebackers get picked. Maybe even a punter, guys. Maybe even a punter. But I want to thank all of you guys for joining in with me today. Thank you for spending your morning. Thank you for being live and lit in the comment section. Definitely going to be tuned in. Tap into my Twitter. I'm going to be tweeting about what I think is going on with the draft. Would love to hear you guys' comments. Interact with me. The Twitter handle is right there at SoRealSunil. You might be able to catch me on Last Second Sports with Jesse, who's going to be live streaming day 2 of the draft as well. So definitely go over there, subscribe if you haven't already to Jesse's channel. And if you haven't here, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're definitely trying to make a push to 1,000 before the season starts. Every single subscription helps to get me one step closer to that goal. Love you guys. Like I say, stay safe, stay hydrated, and enjoy day 2. Go Niners. We keep it with the faithful. This is our year, baby boys. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk again very, very soon.